Different's great, but being different for the sake of being different, I'm not a big fan of, right? If you just want to be different for the sake
technology
of it. But
increased, I would hide behind it.
And you start to hear some of their challenges, and yes.
Because it speaks to the core of who you are and what drives you forward. Because what makes you different is what drives you.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Master Connector Show. I'm your co-host, Rob Genovesi, and we hope you're joining us live here as we go live every single week on LinkedIn and YouTube. And we're going live at 1 p.m. Eastern Time every single week, bringing you amazing, amazing guests. And I got to tell you, when I think about the Master Connector Show, every week is a wonderful show. And do you know why? Because of the guests, not because of me and Steve. Me and Steve bring a little something to the table, but the biggest thing we bring to you is guests from all different backgrounds, different stories, experiences, skill sets, level of success. We get TEDx speakers, we get authors, we get podcast hosts, we get the best of the best, bringing them to you to help you level up. As we go into Independence Day and Independence Weekend, I like to call it, when everybody's barbecuing, I want you to keep something in mind. The fact that we get to be able to have the opportunity to one day have nothing going for us and the next day start a business and immediately started to build our own thing, to create our own opportunity, to build the revenue we want with basically little or no obstacles. I mean, one day I got fired from my job. That day I went home, built a website, and I had a business the next day, and I was off to the races. And that is because the amazing freedom we enjoy in this country. I hope you agree, because there is no opportunity anywhere like it in the world, as far as I can tell. And I listen to a lot of people who are world travelers, and they say we got it best here. So I hope you have a great, safe Independence Day. Remember, it is about independence and freedom. But look, at the Master Connector Show is coming at you every week. That's true. And we want you to come in every single week and get what you need. That's true. But if you can't, we get it. Go to masterconnector.show. See the list of guests that we have coming up in the future so you can bookmark the person that you believe you need to hear from so you can tune in and not miss an episode. The beauty of going live is that you get to connect with us. You get to ask questions in the comments. You get to connect with other people who are in the audience. You get to get your questions answered and be a part of the show. That's the beauty of live. And so look, we want you to be getting in those comments, ask the questions. Do not walk away from an episode without getting your question answered. It's a mistake I made years ago. We want to be able to connect you with our guests. We want to be able to connect with you because at the end of the day, we are all connectors. We can all be master connectors, but I'll tell you, there is only one Master Connector. He's the Master Connector. Please bring him on to the show. My co-host, Mr. Steve Spiro. What's up, Steve?
What's going on? Hey, Robbie G. Yeah, absolutely. Incredible. And you know what? We do live in a great country. It's not a perfect country, but it's great and a land of opportunity. And we should be celebrating. No smashing beer cans over the head. Let's appreciate what we have our hands on. And it's awesome, that we have that freedom. So what's going on, friends? Steve Spiro, the Master Connector, coming at you live and direct. And I have a question for you. So what if the difference between staying stuck and unlocking your full potential comes down to the mastering your thoughts that you don't even realize that you're having? Something to think about, right? And I can tell you from personal experience, I was all over the place. As an introvert, I was very, very low self-esteem because I constantly doubted myself, questioned myself. And it wasn't until I started to get around incredibly successful people, have a mentor in my life, that things started to change. He turned me on to a book called Think and Grow Rich. And if you've ever get a chance to listen to the book, The Stranger's Secret, which precedes the book, The Secret, right? But where it talks about thoughts are things. And they're real things, and they, those thoughts can manifest. And, you want to make sure that you're really, being aware of your thoughts because those will change everything for you, right? We have doubts and there's a lot of noise out there. And so what's going in And I was told years back to protect those gates, the eye gates, the ear gates. What you say is actually something that it goes straight to the subconscious brain. So we're going to kind of cover a lot of these things. It's going to be an incredible show. And, we're talking about uncommon mindset skills for success, right? And, I think we're talking about, like, when you see skill sets, okay, people are like, okay, what kind of technique? It's not going to be technique based. It's going to be based on mindset. Remember, mindset skills, right? And so, what are the things you do? And one of the things that my mentor said to me is, he said years ago, he said, listen, if you're speaking, you can't really think. You're whatever comes out of your mouth. And he said he did like a little experiment. He said, I want everyone right now to start counting out loud, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And as we were counting, he said, think of such and such. And we could, right? Because we're speaking. So your thoughts and what you speak is so important. And those we're gonna cover some of those things. But anyway, I don't want to get too deep because I'm excited to bring on our guest. And before we do, I want to make sure that you type in the comments right now, #Let's Go, because we're going to have my man, Mr. Robbie G, introduce him. Robbie, I'll pass it to you.
All right. Thanks, Steve. Let's go, everybody. Matt Zinman is a professional speaker, corporate trainer, and the author of Z-isms, Insights to Live By, which embodies his experiences as an entrepreneur, athlete, single parent, caregiver, nonprofit founder, and defeater of burnout and depression. Unbelievable. He has since adapted the book into skill-building programs that enhance personal effectiveness and enrich people's lives with lasting effect. Matt continues to advance related topics in his newsletter for LinkedIn, The Bright Side, and as host of Insights to Live By, the podcast. Please welcome to the show, Matt Zinman. What's up, Matt?
Gentlemen, Robbie G, Steve, so great to be with you. I've been so looking forward to this. I'm outnumbered here. Let's get to it.
Let's go. Absolutely. And we've got Sirianni Hosteller, who is an incredible friend on here, and of course the amazing Yolanda Shin checking in. Great to have you all, ladies. So thank you for bringing the female side to the show, because with a bunch of guys, a lot of testosterone in this room right now. So, but anyway, here we go. So great to have you here. We want to get into this, Matt. So let's talk about mindset, right? I was, in my kind of intro, I was talking about that, and I want to, chat about that. So community, type in #mindset. And here's the question for you. What does cultivating an uncommon mindset actually look like in real everyday life?
Right. Well, that's a solid question to begin with. I think taking a step back from that, Steve, is just recognizing that when it comes to this topic, really all things personal development, life enrichment, we're really dealing with the opposite of one size fits all. We are all in different places in our lives. We all have different things that we're cued into, different capacity, different relationships with ourselves, and at different places to work on ourselves. Right. So in the framework of the answer, let's talk about, if you want to work on yourself, where are those hot spots? And that's the other challenge from where I'm sitting, knowing that we're talking about the opposite of one size fits all. However, there are what I believe to be two common threads that are problems and challenges that most people face, and two uncommon solutions that address them to develop those mindset skills. So the first, which is fairly straightforward, are coping skills. Easing the bad, life happening. How do you do that? The other, which honestly I think is the greatest source of unhappiness in many people's lives, is overthinking. So I know we talked about talking about that, and then just to complete the framework there. Well, what are the solutions? And at a higher level, when you're talking about the skills to develop in and around the epicenter of coping skills, is resilience. And then when we're talking about overthinking, how do we get out of our heads something that people don't necessarily think of as a skill? Presence.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And
So
Doug,
it's kind of the
no, it's great. Doug's and by the way, I was on with Doug getting a chance. Jen has been a guest on our show, and Doug, her husband, got a chance to meet with him, and he wrote Mindset Fundamentals for Me, being genuine and consistently curious. So just perfect. And he wrote that just before you actually said about being present. So I love that. It's great. So let's keep it going. So let's talk about resilience, right? I think that's a huge key here. Big part of our show is grit. You know, as I speak as a speaker in my book, and one of our 4 pillars is grit, and the cousin to grit is resilience, and making sure that I didn't get my black belt from not having resilience, right? I had to go through broken nose and split lip and lots of broken bones and stitches, but you know what? But you fight through it, right? So anyway, let's talk about hashtag resilience community. So here's the question for you, Matt. What is, or how do we train ourselves to bounce back faster when life throws us a curveball?
Well, that's the operative question for sure. I think we need to drill down a little deeper to the uncommon skills that, again, people don't necessarily think of as skills, but I think are the ones that really build up the resilience and help you be more present. And the first is self-kindness. And again, people think that might be soft, but there's something very specific and different about self-kindness in the world of personal enrichment. And the challenge there is, well, how do we know that if we want to work on ourselves, like let's say it's our confidence, our self-esteem, it can be very vague as to, well, how do I make progress? How do I know that I got from here to there? How do I stay wherever there is in order to be better in terms of these different skills and how I feel about myself? Self-kindness is definitive. So you're either being kind to yourself or you're not being kind to yourself. So it becomes that barometer, for example, the line that you draw that your inner critic cannot cross. So a lot of us are very hard on ourselves. You draw the line with self-kindness. You say, you know what? That's not how I talk to myself. That's not how I would let anyone speak to me. It's not how I would speak to anyone else. So it's not a light switch, but self-kindness is the first of 3 sub-skills that I think contribute to the overarching skills in helping you be more resilient and present. So I'll just pause there before we're going on.
And I want to talk about something there, Matt. It's interesting you're talking about self-kindness, and I get what you're saying, and reflecting on my own journey. And I remember being very clueless, honestly, as an adult in my 20s and my 30s. But when I was in my 20s and I'd gone out to California in a business venture, and I'd come back and I watched a guy in action who was my own age. We were both 23. He was highly charismatic, successful, good with people. The self-confidence was off the charts. And I came back to New York and I thought, I said, I can't stand myself. It wasn't a self-loathing. It was, I can't stand myself the way I am, knowing I could be successful like that. I need to change some things. So when you talk about self-kindness, I'm not sure that I was being unkind to myself as much as recognizing that I need to love who I am, but develop the skills, like you said, the coping and that mindset for success that allows me to still be me, but know that I've got it in me. And I think that was the biggest thing. Is that what we're talking about? Like, we're not talking about self-loathing versus being kind to ourselves. We're talking about an acknowledgement of, look, we are made up of who we are at a base level. God made us the way we are. We got all the tools, but we need to develop them. So what's the difference there?
Sure. Well, I think number one, part of the equation, maybe the biggest part, is the know thyself part, right? How does it, what we're talking about, apply to, the me? In this case, the you in your 20s. The operative question that I think everyone should really be asking themselves in order to buy into this, in order to work on this as a skill, is there any reason why I should be anything less than kind to myself? And it sounds so simple and it's meant to be rhetorical, but a lot of people have a hard time answering that easily. And if that's the case, then it helps them know where to start.
Yeah. Yeah, I got to say that, Rob, you and I, we're cut from a similar cloth in a lot of ways. But I was hard on myself. I really did not like who I was. And it magnified when I don't know if we're talking about the same person, but I don't know if we were on that same trip together, but I remember there was lots of people that I saw that were incredibly charismatic, incredibly successful. And when I looked at that, it just, I self-loathed myself. And part of it was for me in my journey was, it wasn't until I started to, love myself and realize that, I have great skills and talents and abilities of my own. They may not be the same as that incredibly successful person, but I have my other great, great attributes, and to appreciate that and love that, and also embrace my flaws, embrace my insecurities and ability, my shortcomings, and that's okay, right? Like everyone, you know, what I realize is when you get behind closed doors, that person that looks like this incredibly successful, charismatic person has challenges and flaws, right? And we've seen it, Rob, right? Like they're not perfect, right? It comes across perfect, but they're
Thank
not
God
perfect.
they're not perfect, because that wouldn't give me any hope.
God, thank God for sure. So Rob, I love your perspective on that, and I just want to acknowledge a few things here. So yes, develop accountability to yourself. This is from Suriani. It takes practice daily, and then Robin was chiming in on the resilience piece, but the fine line between being resilient and being stubborn. So also want to acknowledge we've got Sam in the house joining us from, I believe it's from, I want to say Africa, but somewhere overseas. So anyway. Matt, I know you had a few points you wanted to make. I don't want to continue derailing you, but I want to get, chime in as well.
I don't
Yeah.
feel derailed in the least. You guys are
Perfect.
awesome. There's really 3 underlying skills, and after we talk about them and just make sure we have time to, and we're in good shape here, is to bring it all back together. And how do people really put this into action in practical ways they're going to make a difference for them in their lives? And the second underlying skill, which is really my favorite, it speaks both to coping skills as well as addressing overthinking, is kind of that other guardrail to self-kindness, which is what I would consider to be earned confidence. Now, earned confidence is very different from confidence, right? Confidence wavers. We all know what that's about. We're going to feel better about ourselves on any given day for different reasons. Earned confidence at its foundation is really just pointing to the fact that we're all still standing. So we can all point to all the things that we've been through in our lives and say, well, I'm so and so resilient, because I've overcome this. But going further is the fact that, well, if you've overcome everything that you have in your life, which is, you can't deny you're still standing, that you're fully proven that you are capable of overcoming anything. That's what you've always done. Why would you worry?
Yeah, that's great.
Why not? Here, this is the getting out of your head now, right? This is the overthinking stuff. Why would you worry? Why not focus on the what is and start getting in the habit of catching yourself and taking your worries over here and addressing them, on your commute instead of derailing your day, for example. And recognize that that's not your control. Most worries never come to pass, and start training yourself with this, again, definitive logic of earned confidence, not just about the things that you've overcome, but your personal triumphs, your professional accomplishments. Just take that stock, much like that operative question on self-kindness is really where that all begins.
Yeah, that whole idea of confidence, this one runs deep for me, because I was extremely unconfident in everything in life. When I was in my teens and even my 20s, I knew that you were more successful than me. I knew you were happier. I knew you made more money. I knew you were stronger. I knew you were faster. I knew that I was completely inferior in every way. And I believed that. So there was no confidence in me. But as I developed the confidence, first starting, like I said before, from understanding, like God made me, I am who I am. So I must have something going for me. Now let's find it. Developing that confidence that I knew I had one thing though, Matt. I had one thing in life. I knew I was not sufficient enough to succeed, but I knew I could learn. And so when you talk about earned confidence, I'm not sure if this is what you're saying, but it made me think of all the people out there who suffer from this, I don't get it. I don't even believe it. Imposter syndrome. I think it's just a dumb thing that people make up, honestly, to say that there's still something wrong with me. And I go, look, if you did something one time successfully, maybe you got lucky. If you did something successfully for the second time intentionally, then you should have some confidence and lean on that as, hey, I am capable. I do have the ability to become successful, and building on that. Is that what earned confidence is? Is it a success event that gives you the confidence to keep going?
Well, it's the cumulative stock of the fact that you've made it through everything that you have. It's very different from confidence in the sense that it's an ability that's accessible to everyone to apply to the things that take them out of the present in the areas of overthinking, over to the areas of a coping skill in and around resilience. It really draws that line between the dealing with the real and avoiding the things that are uncertain. So if your worries is a great example. Another one is assumptions. A lot of us are in the habit. I worked on this on myself quite a bit in the past couple of years, is catching myself like, is this for real? Like there's this fiction filter. You got to run things through with earned confidence and say, well, do I know this to be true? Is this really happening? Have I been through this before? How would I overcome it if this comes to be, right? You can contingency plan or you can prepare for it. But unless you know it's going to happen for sure, or it's actually happening, you don't need to give your energy to it. And that's the distinction. That's the definitive, like self-kindness of a line that you can draw between your reality and the things that you're giving your energy to that aren't actually happening and likely will not.
I love that.
Wow.
Yeah, I want to just throw out, by the way, Samuel is from Kenya, so apologies on that. Thank you for clarifying that. But he had something here I want to bring up. Another way of tackling overthinking is finding a way to serve others. Excuse me. And I'll say one thing, when in terms of my mentor, he said this. He said your self-conscious or your self-image is often based upon not what you think about yourself, but it's what I think you think of me. And through serving people and hearing incredible feedback from people, it helped build my confidence up. Okay, it's not the only way. I get it. You can't rely on that. But when you're constantly serving and helping, and you're hearing like, man, you're amazing, you're incredible, it will lift you up. So just something that I've seen as well. But so I don't know if you finished your pillars, but I want to kind of keep this rolling. I don't want. Go ahead, go for it. Let's go for it, and then we'll get to the next phase of the questions. Go for it, man.
Sure. Well, just to make the last distinction, Steve, we all have our days. We all get down on ourselves. No matter how down on yourself or we get on ourselves, the earned confidence is unwavering. That's the ability that you can apply, knowing that you can handle anything. The third, which I'll just touch on, I've written a lot about this recently, is energy intelligence. And this again is about being present and how it is that energy has and our relationship with it in our lives. So there are three aspects to it. One is personal energy, which is experiencing your day through a lens of energy management versus time management, right? It's like aligning when you're at your best, when you have the hardest things to do.
Yep.
Second, I think most important and most practical is interpersonal energy. We all affect one another. We all have a responsibility, knowing we affect one another, not to be the Debbie Downer, if you will, in someone else's life. And we need to have our shields up, and you have to be present to do that, right? And for me, the operative word there is intentional, right? You're present or you're not present. The only way you can be present is doing it on purpose. And so now you're working on that skill, right? And then the third one starts to take us into areas of law of attraction, of manifestation, of gratitude, of identity shifting, some of the things that you're referring to. And, we'll tie this back together as how these three uncommon skills apply, and we're touching on them to be improving your resilience in concrete ways, and how to be more present and get out of your head.
Yeah, That's great. Well, we're getting to the bottom of the hour. It's crazy.
Yeah.
This show flies by. But I want to just say, welcome to Russ Hedge, sponsor of our show, and incredible to have you on here with us. And yes, serving others and talk about a servant leader. Russ is one of those folks for sure. Get to know Russ for sure. But I want to kind of see if we could just slip in one question as we close things down, and that is on adaptability. So community, type in hashtag adaptability. And so, what mindset shifts is most critical when facing uncertainty and rapid change? And we've seen a lot of it over the last 5 years. Although, in general, it's just it's life, right? But what's it for you?
I mean, I really think it comes back to perspective and how it is in the moment as you're present that you're dealing with the circumstances that happen to you, many of the things that are not in your control. So you can, through a lens of perception, you could say, well, optimism and pessimism apply to the same set of circumstances. You have that choice to approach things from the bright side. How can you choose in any given situation? And again, life happens and things are difficult for all of us, but whether when you're in the thick of it or coming out of it, where's that silver lining that you can adapt to so that you can really embrace a sense of happiness that you do have control over and insulate yourself in a healthy way from the things you really have to deal with in a negative way. But how do you ease the bad and enrich the good is really at the heart of that.
Love that. Well, listen, I mean, we could go on and on and on. I think we only got to 2 of the 6 things I wanted to ask you, but you covered it a lot already. And so I really just appreciate you big time. You're an incredible resource, Matt. Matt, I know you have something you want to add value and offer the community, the ebook and the Z-isms. Can you tell the community a little bit more about your offer there?
Yeah, for sure. You might have mentioned the site currently, mattzinman.com. The ebook is free to download, as is the audiobook. The audiobook's available online on the podcast as a bonus now. So, I mean, look, we don't create all of these things for them to, not be consumed. And I'm also launching a company next week that's going to be an umbrella to all of my work called MindRev. So you see that this is that first debut, as a matter of fact. So mindrev.co is the other, and that goes to a corporate LinkedIn page right now while that's under construction. But lots of resources, no shortage, and I thank you for that.
Yeah, no, awesome. And what's the best way from community to connect with you, reach out to you? Because you're an absolute amazing resource. So what would you like how they like them to reach you?
Well, I'm easy to find, Steve. I could tell you that. I'd say LinkedIn is probably my jam. Yeah. So feel free, please.
Well, listen, community, make sure to connect with Matt. Matt, we're going to have you go in the green room. If you have a few minutes, hang out there. We'll say hello, goodbye. But great stuff. You brought incredible value here today. So we just appreciate you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Guy. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Wrong person. We're moving the wrong person. All right. Tech stuff. Love it. Well, that was amazing, as always. And, next week, we think it's going to be even more amazing, or at least as amazing. I don't know if you could top that, but episode 219, can't believe we're at that. July 9th is going to be Creating Money Miracles with Joe Salomon. It's going to be a great show. Don't miss it. If you want to learn about all of the next shows, up and coming shows, go to the masterconnector.show and you could learn more about them there as well. But just incredible. I'm gonna close with a quick story real quick here, and then we'll hopefully Robbie G comes back in time, but if not, we'll figure it out. But listen, Alex Hanold, the world-renowned rock climber, became the first person to scale El Capitan in Yosemite without ropes, relying solely on mental mastery and physical precision. What set Alex apart wasn't just his athletic ability, but his uncommon mindset, including deep focus, emotional regulation, and visualization that allowed him to silence fear and perform under extreme pressure. His achievement reminds us that mental discipline and present moment awareness can unlock the extraordinary, even when the stakes are sky high. Folks, let's continue to grow the mindset for success and build those skills for growth, and let our example shine to the world and be that light. God bless. We'll see you next week.
And you start to hear some of their challenges, and yes,
because it speaks to the core of who you are and what drives you forward. Because what makes you different is what drives you.